Hey, welcome to That One Time, the place for unforgettable moments and stories worth sharing. Funny, touching, surprising, just like life itself. Grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Laura was racing from room to room, hurriedly stuffing whatever came to hand into her bags. Her breathing was ragged. She was badly rattled. Just a moment ago, the chief physician had phoned, asking why she had so suddenly decided to leave. Of course they let her go at once, but the questions flew from every side and she could explain nothing, nor did she wish to say a word to anyone. Laura had met her husband while doing a placement in the city hospital. Feelings had flared up in an instant. They hadn't fought them, and soon they were married. After she began working at the clinic, they agreed to postpone children. Laura was only starting her career, and later, well, life was simply too busy, though every so often she dropped a hint to her husband. A rush of memories made Laura's eyes fill with tears of hurt and anger, and it was all because of her friend Karina. Yesterday she had learned that Karina was no friend at all. Laura earned extra money by taking night shifts at the city hospital. Yesterday she was scheduled for a 24-hour duty, but it was canceled. Delighted, she raced home to surprise her husband. She opened the apartment door quietly and heard a woman's laughter. "You amaze me every time. I can't imagine what you'll come up with next," Karina's voice trilled. Her husband answered, "You inspire me. You know that? I think of you every minute. I want you to be happy. I'll do anything so you're never disappointed in me, my darling. You're my entire universe." Laura backed slowly toward the front door. She had heard enough to know exactly what was happening. The sound of kisses drifted from the room, and she had no wish to see it with her own eyes. She slipped out without even turning the key, spent the night at the hospital, and never closed her eyes. Now she was home only to pack. By dawn, she had already chosen where to disappear. Her grandmother had left her a little house in the village of Zarachi. No one knew about it. Many years ago, Laura had moved from there to live with her father in Zlatograd after her mother died. It was only at her grandmother's funeral that she learned the house was hers, and it had stood empty ever since. She would go there. All that remained was to gather the essentials and her papers. No one would find her. She didn't want her husband or ex-friend knowing her whereabouts. Let them think she'd vanished or that something had happened to her. "My soul is gone now," Laura whispered. In an hour she had everything she needed. She paused in the middle of the room, taking in the surroundings. She felt sure she would never come back. Here she had been happy, and here she had learned what the two dearest people to her had done. This place was no longer a safe harbor. It was a foul swamp where ugly things had happened. The thought made her stomach churn. She hurried out, leaving pain and disappointment behind as the door slammed shut. 2 days later, she was in Zarachia. Before boarding the plane to Zlatograd, she had thrown away her SIM card and bought a new one. She wanted no calls from her husband, Karina, or anyone else. If necessary, she would ring the city clinic herself and say whether she would return. During the flight, a question kept gnawing at her. Should she quit medicine altogether? The betrayal had knocked the ground from under her, and she didn't know how to go on, but she did know she wanted a radical change of life. Now she was trudging down a dirt road with her suitcase. A local had given her a lift as far as the right lane, the rest she had to walk. When at last she reached the house, her heart felt suddenly lighter. She saw her grandmother's cottage, now hers. Here she would hide, and no one would hurt her again. The gate squeaked as she opened it. Laura stood for a moment, then closed it behind her. She was leaving grief and anxiety outside and stepping toward a new, unknown life. 2 weeks passed, and Laura slowly came back to herself. She had met the neighbors, kind people who organized workers to clear the house and yard. The furniture was decent, the garden soon tidy. She even found herself smiling. Strangers had done more for her in a fortnight than she had dared hope. Her wounded heart still bled, but such gentle kindness was stitching the gashes closed. Then something happened that showed she could not hide her profession. She had half decided to become a dairymaid, a farmhand, whatever people did in Zarachi, but fate intervened. One morning, neighbor Tamara, who had helped most with the house, burst in, agitated. "Morning, Laura dear, forgive me. I can't help you today. I have to rush to town. My girl's been poorly for days with stomach pain, and last night she got much worse. Keeps vomiting, can't even drink." "She's dehydrated," Laura said at once. "She needs an IV right away. Probably food poisoning. We have to flush the toxins." Tamara threw up her hands. An IV? In Zarichi? And who'd know how to set it up? Folks here can barely give a jab. We'll drive her to Zlatograd and let the doctors there treat my poor lamb. Laura ran to fetch her medical kit. She had brought it just in case. She set up the drip. The child improved at once and could sip water. By evening she looked almost well. No trip to town was needed. Tamara was ready to kiss Laura's hands. Next day the whole village knew Laura was a doctor. Secrecy was impossible, and Laura realized that the joy she felt when the girl improved was like nothing else. Medicine alone gave her such fulfillment. A month later, she was running the local clinic, vacant for ages because no doctor wanted to waste a life in Zarichi. For Laura it was perfect, a refuge from the past and a way to help kind, responsive people. Several months on, Laura answered a call to a little girl with a persistent fever. A rather handsome man opened the door. "Good afternoon, Dr. Laura. You don't know me yet, but I've heard plenty. I'm Ryan. Please help my daughter." Laura noted his striking eyes, then pushed away the thought. She had gone without a man for a long time, but not to the point where one pair of pretty eyes could turn her head. "Show me the patient," she said. 10 minutes later, she was scribbling prescriptions. "She's got nasty crackles in the lungs. I'll write the medicine. You'll have to drive to town to buy it, plus a couple of other drugs. Could you call your wife? I'll explain how to treat her. I have a few tricks that'll get your little one back on her feet fast." Silence fell. Laura looked up, puzzled. Ryan was frowning. After a moment, he said quietly, "I've no wife. I'm raising Alice on my own. My wife, during childbirth." He swallowed the lump in his throat. Laura glanced at the fair-haired angel in the bed, blue eyes full of trust, and felt her chest tighten. Life was cruel. She had begged her own husband for a child, but he hadn't wanted one, no doubt busy with his affair. She had dreamed of motherhood, yet here lay a girl who had never known a mother's touch. She looked back at Ryan and felt a strange stirring, pity perhaps, or shared sorrow, and she nearly drowned in those eyes watching her so intently. "I'll come every day," she said. "I'll handle the treatment myself. Just buy the medicine. I'll make sure Alice is running around again soon, won't I, princess?" She stroked the child's head. Alice smiled warmly. Ryan smiled too, and Laura saw how alike father and daughter were. "I don't know how to thank you. Let me drive you home each evening so you don't have to walk?" Laura meant to refuse, then changed her mind. It had been so long since she talked with a man, and Ryan was pleasant, courteous, his daughter adorable. What harm if he gave her lifts? She wanted to talk, to ask about the girl. "All right. I know where you live," Ryan cut in, then fell silent. Something in his eyes unsettled her. A handsome man. She had once had such a man who crushed her heart. She almost regretted agreeing, but there was no backing out now. Time passed. Laura sat on the bench outside the cottage, sipping fragrant tea. Strong arms slipped round her waist, a gentle kiss brushed her cheek. She closed her eyes and smiled. "My love, a whole day off. Are you really mine at last?" Ryan whispered. Before Laura could reply, Alice came squealing down the steps. Ryan sighed theatrically. "Correction, ours." Laura smiled, thinking back over the last year, the happiest of her life. Ryan had melted her heart. He confessed he had seen her long before she noticed him and had fallen in love at first sight. Alice's illness had brought them together. It was also the hardest year because she had had to confront her past. For Ryan and Alice's sake, she wanted a clean break, so she'd gone back to settle things. It turned out they hadn't looked hard for her. Her husband and Karina were already living together. Signing the papers was mere formality. Karina tried to speak, but Laura didn't utter a word. Her ex-husband made no excuses, only said that life was unpredictable. That was the last she saw of them. Nothing now bound her to that life. She could devote herself to the man she loved, and whom she'd met thanks to her grandmother's little house. She sighed, letting go of the final scraps of bitterness, and stroked Ryan's hand. "We have so much time that you'll soon be sick of me. You're my whole life. I love you, and I'll never tire of you," he murmured, pulling her tighter into his arms.